So we're finally here with intro music. Oh my gosh, it took me how many episodes to figure out that I need to create some sort of like intro vibe that matches whenever you like start listening to this podcast, right? I'm over here like, nah, people are just gonna listen to me. But I also want it to sound nice. I want it to sound inviting. And yes, I should have a generic introduction to every episode, but I was just so excited that I'm finally sitting here and I'm like, after 20 something episodes, I'm gonna sit my butt down, girl, and I'm going to figure out how to add music to the beginning and the end of my episode. So here we are for the very first time ever at the VDA podcast. Vibes that I'm a podcast with some introductions. So before we begin the episode, I hope you just, settle in, enjoy the rest of this song, and then we'll just talk about some descending into the womb stuff. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast episode. And today we have Istara, the founder of Woman Healing. She has her own successful business that she built after quitting corporate America to pursue her dreams. And now she supports women through the feminine awakening journey. She's passionate about womb wisdom and helping women realize the power they can tap into when honoring their woman's cycle. She also supports women in their rites of passage that they experience throughout their lives. So I'm just super excited to have you here and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am super excited for this conversation.
Yes, it's part two. We had that IG live a little bit ago, and now here we are on the podcast.
Yes, I am really looking forward to continuing and expanding more on all of that we talked on that IG live. I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me again.
Of course, of course. So I wanted to start by asking you, how did you personally start your journey towards a personal practice with a spiritual practice, or how you started to delve into this world?
Yeah. I think it's very layered. I always start going back to 2013 when I was actually in college and I was struggling with a lower back pain, like very sharp, really bad pain. I remember sitting in um, a classroom. I was taking a test, genetics test, I will never forget. And when I wanted to stand up, because I had finished the test, I couldn't stand up because my lower back was just so tense. And whenever I tried to stand up, I would feel this like sharp pain. And as a result of that pain and how my body started communicating, I started diving into the world of yoga first because I was looking for something that could help me manage and potentially get rid of this pain that was bothering me so much, and it was impacting like every aspect of my life. And this was back in 2013. Fast forward to 2015, I had been practicing yoga for 2 years, and I had fallen completely in love with the practice, and I decided to do my teacher training. So that's where my first spiritual awakening started. I learned about the yamas and niyamas. I learned about non-violence and mainly just being a good human being through the yamas and niyamas, which are somewhat like the 12 commandments in Catholicism. And I know you and I have talked about this. I come from a Catholic background, and that's been part of my journey now, reconciling what I learned then and what I know and I feel come through my body now. So I really resonated with how my teacher in this yoga studio in Puerto Rico, how he taught, because he would always say, that it didn't matter how you named whatever you believed in. It didn't matter the name or the image that you would use. It mattered that you believed in something and that you were trying to be a better human being through the yoga practice inside the mat and outside the mat as well. So that's where it all started. And long story short, I practiced yoga for many years. I became a teacher. I was teaching as well until in 2017, 2018, I started developing a chronic pain. And that chronic pain pulled me completely out of the mat for 3 years. I was not teaching. I was not practicing. I was literally, I disassociated from the world of yoga because it hurt so much that something that I loved so deeply, I just couldn't do it because it would trigger my pain. And for 3 years, I just disassociated from it. One thing that I do want to mention, because I feel like it's so important with the work that I do today, is that during that time that I was practicing yoga 6 days a week, I was super lean. My body felt amazing. I was obviously super flexible. I was not paying attention to my emotions. I was bypassing how I felt at all times. So I would be 6 times a week in the mat, and then I would go and drink and numb myself during the weekend. And it would be like a vicious cycle almost. Shadow work, womb work, all the feminine healing tools that I now share with other women. So so that is more or less how it all went. There's obviously so much more nuance to it, and we could be here like 3 hours talking about our stories, right?
Yes, yes.
But that's how it all happened. Yeah.
Wow, that's so powerful. And like, thank you so much for sharing the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows from the very beginning of where things started to change for you, all the way to you had that second awakening that like really shook you to your core to the point where you're like, all right, I really do have to do something about this. And I wanted to bring it back to when you practice yoga and how you felt good and you were in your body, you felt great, you looked great, but you were bypassing your emotions. Um, I feel like sometimes spiritual practices can be used that way. Like you get into it and you're just so addicted, or you're just so like, you get so happy that you're able to find an escape. And to an extent, it's nice to have that escape. But also, you just mentioned the fact that you were bypassing emotions. So, like, can you talk a little bit about that?
The way I see it with yoga specifically, and this is in no way a, I am not trying to criticize the practice or anything, it's just how I experienced it. For me, in yoga, it is all about enlightenment. And if we think about the chakra system in the yoga world, all the emphasis and the focus is on elevating the energy to your upper chakras, to your third eye, to your crown chakra, because that is the way of enlightenment. And specifically for women, that doesn't really work. I think we must surrender first and ground and descend in order to ascend later along the journey. And that was the thing for me. I would sit in the mat and I would try to meditate the way my teacher was teaching me. And I would just be in the mental chatter all the time. I could not, for the life of me, Ashley, I could not quiet the mind ever because I was not even paying attention to my emotions. So emotions are energy, right? And all that energy is within, especially if we go and talk about the womb space. We hold all that energy there in our womb space, and we're trying to pull something up to our upper chakras, but that energy keeps pulling it down because we haven't paid attention to what's really there. We are just bypassing it. And that's what happens in the yoga world. And if we go back like hundreds, thousands of years, yoga was developed by men. And these were men that were alienated from the world. They were not participants of the real world. They were in the mountains, in their own thing. They had no worries whatsoever when this was developed. So if we think about the environment where they were, it makes sense that it would be easy for them to elevate and find that enlightenment easier. But for us, and especially for women, we need to descend first. We must ground. We must surrender to our stories, to our experiences, and actually go into the pain to know what's in there, because our power is there. And so that was my experience through that's been my experience through the last almost 10 years. I've been a yoga teacher almost 10 years now. And if I look back, I feel like I was bypassing my emotions because in the yoga world, emotions were never part of the conversation.
Yeah, that's so true. And I like how you bring up the fact that when this whole practice started, it was thousands of years ago in a world that looks so different than what it looks like now. And this is something that our teacher says, Mali Okalani, from the Secret Woman School, that we have to do, we have to become the priestesses of today, the medicine women of today, in today's society, the way that it would look like now, not the way that it used to look like. And that doesn't mean to discard the ancient wisdom, because the ancient wisdom had it right. And at the same time, we have to adapt those ancient teachings into today's society and today's world to bring the quote unquote new earth, which is just really just bring us back to balance. So yes, and women are built differently than men. We do have that womb space that's like a void. It sucks everything in, everything harbors there. So like I thank you for just bringing up the fact that everything just goes back to the womb. And how did you start that? You know, like when did you decide, you know, I really do want to connect and learn more about my menstrual cycle and the womb and how I can work with this?
So before I go ahead and answer your question, I just want to take a moment to send love and all the beautiful energies to Mali, because you brought her into the conversation, and it's like we called her. She's here with us, and she she's been such a powerful teacher and amazing example of the type of woman and the type of guide that I want to be. I think it's really important to mention in today's world, integrity is so important. And this woman is the example of what integrity is and what walking your talk means, really.
Yes.
So yeah, just wanted to send the all the energies to Mali wherever she is. I am not sure if she's still in New Zealand or she's back in Asheville or where in the world is she, but we are thinking about you, Mali, and we love you.
Yes, we love you,
And
Mali.
yeah, and to answer your question, it all comes back to Mali, really. So back in 2021, I completed my Women's Circle facilitator training with my teachers from Puerto Rico. And during that training, they had one session, one class, where they introduced the womb space and the work with womb wisdom. But it was only one class. And I remember being in that class and saying and feeling my womb for the first time. I knew nothing about womb work or womb wisdom or even what the energetic womb meant until that day. And it completely changed my mind. Like I started meditating on my womb space all the time. I've always had a daily practice, which I teach women also. And it is something that's so important and key to stay regulated, to regulate our nervous system. And I talk a lot about regulating our nervous system because we cannot do the deeper work if we are not regulated. So during that training, I learned a little bit about womb wisdom. And when we finished the training, not all women, but some women were still interested in learning more, I think, about the womb space and womb work. And I believe someone asked them and they mentioned Mali, or somehow they mentioned Mali. They brought Mali into the conversation and Sacred Women's School. And that's how I learned about Sacred Women's School. This was like the end of 2021. And I was so thirsty to learn more and dive deeper into all the things that I immediately signed up for the New Earth Medicine Woman training with Mali, which was starting that January. So it was a crazy time coming from like early 2021, attending the retreats, then late 2021, doing the Women's Circle facilitator training, and then immediately into 2022, immersed for 30 weeks with Mali, doing the New Earth Medicine training, which had 3 modules, as you know, because you've completed it as well. And one of the modules has to do with the womb space, the cycle, and everything related to the feminine energy. So that's how I started diving into this beautiful world of feminine energy and how to awaken the feminine and come back to a balance, because both energies live within all of us. We are just experiencing as humanity a big, big imbalance. So yeah, super exciting stuff happening since 2020 for me after that dark night of the soul.
Yeah. Ultimately, like with the womb wisdom and the womb work and the yoga practice, like it all just comes back for you to this womb space and to honoring that divine feminine presence, because we are cyclical beings. And you really, like, I feel like those 30 weeks, which I feel like are more than just 30 weeks, because there's like little breaks in between, but during those little breaks you're integrating and you're still kind of like wrapping up stuff from the last module and then like trying to prepare yourself for the new module. But after you leave that space, there's different things that call to you that you even deepen even more with. And I just feel like with you, it's really, really just been about the womb, and really that womb space and that safe space that we have that we can always come back to. And I love that you have a daily practice that you share with people to just regulate yourself, right? Because
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the nervous system is important.
yeah, yeah. It is what holds us together in the end. But you're absolutely right. I've seen over the last few years, I've seen other women go through the same training and focus on different things. I feel like when you do that training and you finish the training, and the training is just it, the word training doesn't even capture what you experience through that time that you spend with Mali.
Yeah.
But after you finish the training, you are immediately drawn to something specific that you want to deepen, like you were saying. And different women definitely go through different routes, but I also feel like and actually I am working one-on-one with Mali right now, which I have never done with anyone. She's the first person that I'm working one-on-one with. And I am working one-on-one with her because I want to deepen my knowledge about the Akash and start perhaps incorporating Akashic readings into my practice. And what I want to say, that my main thought here is that it is a journey, and integrating what we learn through both education and experience is probably the most important part. And so many times people bypass that part of integrating because we want to continue consuming and getting more knowledge and working with more teachers and seeing different spaces, and we forget about integration, which is so important. And as I was talking to a sister of mine here in Puerto Rico recently, I deeply feel that I am only scratching at the surface of what the training with Mali really is. Immediately when I finished the training, I was in love with everything womb related, and this is the work that I am passionate about right now. But that doesn't matter that in 5 years I will still be doing the same thing, because through the feminine, that's what we learn about the life, death, rebirth cycle and how we can change. We are in constant change, and it doesn't have to be always the same. I don't need to commit to working with the womb now and forever or for 10 or 20 years. No, I will do this work until it feels aligned, or until it doesn't feel aligned, or until something feels more aligned, and we can change. And that is the journey. That is the healing journey. The spiritual journey is continuing to change, continuing to welcome the evolution process, and knowing that we won't be the same forever.
Yes, that is so beautifully said. And also, thank you for sharing because you coach other women, you help other women along this journey, and you also walk the talk. Like you receive this help for yourself and you invest in yourself as well. And it's important for people to realize that if you want to be successful, if you want to be able to help other women, you do have to also give, like, follow your own advice. So you're giving all of the clients and all the people that you want to help and work with.
Yeah, walking the talk is one of the most important parts. And I was seeing a reel right before we jumped into recording the podcast, and the reel was talking about how the era of the guru is over, and the it is time to go within. And I always say this: all of my work, whether it is that I'm coaching one-on-one, or coaching in a container, or working with you to honor rites of passage, or teaching you a yoga class, all of my work is 50% educational and 50% experiential. Because I feel like in this moment in time, yes, books and courses and working with teachers and the educational part is really important, but it is not all. We have been, for hundreds of years, we have been relying on what someone else said or how someone else did things. And we are following those same examples over and over and over, recreating, repeating patterns. And in this moment in history is the time to go within. So the education, 50% is great, but also the other 50% needs you showing up for yourself, needs you showing up to do the work, needs you paying attention to yourself, to your own messages, diving into your own story, diving into your own womb space to cleanse and be able to open up your divine channel, because that's what women are. We are divine channels. We are the bridge between earth and heaven. We are the antenna, and our womb space is the space where creation exists, but also death. So if the womb space is all cluttered and and full of energy that's not even yours, that you maybe inherited from your lineage or from partners in this life, or from energy that has accumulated from past experiences and traumas, the messages that will come through, one, will be really difficult for you to hear them, but also they're like infected. Like I say, they're infected because your antenna is not clear. So that's why we go to the womb space, to cleanse, so that we can hear ourselves better. And the more we hear and listen to ourselves, the more we can connect to the collective energy, the more we can connect to the universe, and the more we can start participating from this process of co-creation to help the planet evolve, to help the collective consciousness to elevate.
It was beautiful though. Like I love the analogy of we are the antenna. I am my own antenna. But at the same time, if my womb space is cluttered, like that's going to interfere with the signals that I am receiving. So with that, I wanted to ask if there's any practices to help prevent the womb from being cluttered or to help clear whatever baggage might be stored up in there for those that are listening on to this podcast.
Oh my God, yes, of course. There's tons of practices, and let me just mention that I have been working really hard to bring some online resources to my website, and I have a womb meditation that's called Remember Your Nature out there. That's beautiful if you are wanting to start that journey into the womb space. And basically what we do when I work with a woman that's starting her journey into the womb space, it is all about bringing the attention to this space that we have forgotten. Whether you're lying in bed, just lying in bed, and you bring your hands to your womb space, and you take a deep inhale, and as you inhale, you visualize the energy moving up into your heart, and as you exhale, you redirect that energy down into your womb space. And with every exhale, you continue bringing more and more attention to your womb space, and you can feel your ovaries, and you can feel your physical womb as well. And you continue doing that, just taking really deep inhales, pushing your belly away from your spine. And then as you exhale, you allow that energy to descend. If you're sitting down with your glutes on your yoga mat or a blanket, you can start visualizing the roots of a big tree growing from your sit bones and rooting down onto the earth. And that in itself, that practice of bringing attention to your womb space and then allowing that energy to descend even deeper into the mother, starts awakening the goddess archetype within you and all the feminine archetypes within you. So that is a beautiful, beautiful practice. Again, if you want to expand from here, go and check that womb meditation that I have out there. It is beautiful, and it's only $10, and you get it for life, and you can use it as many times as you want. Other practices that have helped me in my journey and that help my clients as well, I would say blood offerings are something that change lives. Like that will change your life completely. This is a little more nuanced because we need to talk about how we can collect blood. And here I have my thoughts about using the menstrual cup or not using the menstrual cup. In the end, when we work with the womb space, everything that I share with my clients is a framework. But the most important thing is that you tune into yourself and you ask yourself, what feels good for me? And you listen to your body. You connect to your senses, and you start learning what is it? What is the method that works for me? Because we are all magical beings. We are all divine. And maybe something that works for me won't work for you. In my case, and I'm going to just share this, in my case, I don't use the menstrual cup because I feel like it's very tense in there. And to me, the womb and the feminine is all about softening. So when I started using the menstrual cup years ago, it just didn't feel right. And then when I started working with the womb space, I tried it again. I tried using it again. Again, it didn't feel right to me. So I just said, okay, this is not the path that I'm here to take. So what I mainly practice is either free bleeding or I use menstrual underwear, which has been a game changer for me over the past 3 years. And that is a beautiful way that you can also collect your blood and do a blood offering to the Great Mother. Go take your blood and go to a place in nature and offer it and say a prayer, elevate a prayer. Here I am, Mother, to give you this part of me so that we can continue cultivating a deeper relationship, so that I can continue awakening to my gifts and I can continue listening deeper and deeper to my intuition and to the messages that come through me also. So these two practices have been completely life-changing for me and so many of my clients. So yeah, I can offer those. What do you think?
Oh no, those are beautiful. And it's so taboo at first when you go and try to do like a blood offering and work with your menstrual blood. But when you get over that initial, I guess, awkwardness with yourself, and then you do end up being curious about your blood, and just listening to this is going to spark that seed of curiosity, because I promise you, every single woman has had an experience down their ancestral line where they did work with their blood, their menstrual blood, and it's sacred. Um, and I can definitely attest to that change of like being like, oh, I don't really want to talk about my period, to then going through all of these changes where now I'm like, I'm in my moon time and I'm honoring this. And when you first pour your blood into the earth, it's something that's not able to be described. Like the feeling that you get is very unique, and it almost feels like you're at peace, which is very interesting when you do that. Like sometimes when I have a lot of cramps, I've offered my blood to the earth, and then within like a few hours, for me, and that's just the relationship that I have, like it helps subdue the cramps that I have because I'm offering all that to the earth.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I love those little nuggets that you left, and that's just also a testament of like how deep, or how much deeper. This is just a couple of things that you have under your belt that you can offer here for everybody. And when you're working with someone one-on-one, you can definitely like fine tune whatever that person needs, the same way that you've been able to do that for yourself. And whenever people come on to your services and your programs and your journeys, they have even more tools that you'll be able to add, because you're right, it is learning, but it's also mostly experiencing things for yourself. So I just wanted to open up the floor to like, what are those things that you have that you're there to offer for those people that are wanting to tune in more to their womb and their womb wisdom?
Yeah, yeah. And I was just closing my eyes, just feeling your words as well. And when you mentioned that resistance that many women feel when they start getting curious with their blood, I got chills because I remembered the first time that I explored with my blood, and I wouldn't even touch it almost. Like it is, this programming is so ingrained in ourselves, in our bodies, in our psyches, that we don't even want to touch something that is sacred. And actually, something that is not even dirty because our blood comes from our womb space, and our womb space is a sterile place, a sterile space. So whatever comes out of it is also sterile. So it can never be dirty. So I got chills just remembering and having that visual image, that flashback of the first time that I offered my blood. I was in Dallas, and I chose this tree, and I stayed with the same tree forever. For the 2 years that I was there, I was offering my blood to the same tree. So it was a beautiful flashback. Thank you so much for that. And also to mention that for women that feel resistance, resistance is also part of being curious. So the more we resist something, the more the universe is telling us that's where you need to look. That's what really resistance is. It is like when we, let me use an analogy. It is like when we meet someone and something feels off about this person. And for women, we immediately feel it. Our intuition is very powerful, even when we are not even connected to our womb space. So imagine when we connect to our womb space, that intuition is heightened like 10, 20, 30 times. So when you meet someone and immediately you're like, you feel something's off about the person, it means really that there is something that you need to learn from that person, or something that that person needs to learn from you. There's a soul contract there. And in the same way, when we feel resistance come up when we are learning about something new, it is an invitation to look more into it, to dive deeper into it. So for anyone listening to the podcast and being like, oh, that sounds crazy, or I would never do that, or whatever it is that you're feeling, or whatever that narrative is in your mind, stay open, stay receptive, and stay curious. I have a program, it's an online program that I launched recently, and it is called Unbecoming. And it is called Unbecoming for a reason. And it is because I believe that we don't need to become anything. We are already all things. This is exactly the line that I say in the program. We are already all the things. We are made from the stars and the sun and the moon. We are pure magic. You are pure magic. All women and all human beings ultimately are pure magic. It is about unbecoming everything we were taught we needed to be, and how we needed to act, and how we needed to behave, and what we needed to believe. So this program is all about awakening to your feminine. And I share so many tools, all related to awakening the feminine. So we talk about the history of the feminine. We talk about shadow work. We talk about womb wisdom. Obviously, that's like my wheelhouse and my favorite subject. And it's the longer class, actually. And then we close with a powerful feminine activation, and we channel Kali, and we, in every session, and it's 4 sessions, in every session, you receive half of the session that is purely education, information for your knowledge, and the other part is experiential. So we do a womb cleansing in the womb wisdom class. We do a shamanic journey when we're talking about the shadow. We do somatic release. We do embodiment. So I am basically sharing all the tools that helped me in my journey, and that I've been teaching women over the past 18 months. And I put it all together in a program that you can purchase and automatically receive all the videos. You receive immediate access. And it is like I've been saying recently, this is the starting point for women that want to reconnect with their feminine, that want to reconnect with their womb space and their cycle. This is where you open up your horizons, and then you can continue exploring. I have so many more offerings. I don't know if you want me to share about all of them, but I work one-on-one. I work mainly online, but I also do ceremonies to honor rites of passage. Right now, I am in Puerto Rico, so I am seeing women in person here. And I just love connecting with women. That I think everything boils down to that. So yeah, if I can help with anything, or you have any questions about anything that I just shared, feel free to reach out to me.
Yes, yes. And for a second, you mentioned that as part of your program that you offer, that you channel Kali. So I wanted to ask if you could talk about her for those of you that are listening that don't know who she is.
Yeah. Kali is the goddess of destruction, and she reminds us that there's nothing that's forever, that everything, and it goes back to the conversation we were having a couple of minutes ago. When we work with Kali, we make peace with the fact that we are going to have to say goodbye to people and to spaces and to different experiences that came to teach us something, and then we just let go. There's Kali is all about making peace with the fact that things can destroy over and over again. That destruction doesn't mean it's the end of life. That actually, when you allow things to crumble down, that will create the fertile ground for something more aligned to grow. So when we work in the program, when we work with Kali, we do the Kali breath, which is inhaling and then exhaling and sticking your tongue out and becoming really ugly. And also, I heard a teacher mention that Kali brings us back to our heart. That's why when we stick our tongue, we are pointing with our tongue to our heart, because that we continue coming back to our heart and de-armoring. And I love this word de-armoring, because we through the years we build an armor around us. And when we start making peace with Kali, when we start awakening our feminine energy, we start allowing that armor to break down. And what is down there, like buried beneath the armor, is our heart. It's a life full of love and compassion. But the key thing here is that love and compassion starts with ourselves. And this is a feminine wound that is within the collective of the feminine. We, for years, hundreds, thousands of years, we've been putting others before ourselves. And in this time in history, it is the time for you as a woman to start putting yourself first, to start filling your cup first. And I completely derailed from talking about Kali, but I just kept going. And I think it's so important to mention that you have to be your first priority, especially when you start awakening your feminine and when you start walking the path of a spiritual being.
Yeah, Kali is such a powerful force, and we all need to release the old so the new can enter, and she's the best teacher for that. I appreciate the explanation and the Kali breath. I actually haven't heard that practice, so I'm excited to try that at home and see how that falls for me. And
I'm gonna send you a reel. I recently posted a reel where I actually do the breath, so I'm gonna send it to you.
yes, yes, I'm excited. I'm super excited. And for those of you that are listening, I challenge you to do the Kali breath as well. Go and find Istara on Instagram, look at her reel, and do that for yourself to manifest the life that you want and attract your desires.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Aho.
Aho, aho. So with that, where can people find you to look for this reel and just to connect with you further?
Yeah, the best place to find me where I spend my days is on Instagram. So my community's Instagram is called Woo Moon Healing, and you can find me at Woo Moon Healing, WOMOON Healing. And you will probably put it somewhere in the episode or show notes or something so that people can find it. But yeah, that's where I spend most of my days. I am currently revamping my website, so stay tuned. But if you find me on Instagram, you can go to the link in my bio and find so many things, so many free resources. I have a chakra activation meditation. I have a um, women's cycle journal that you can access for free and start learning about the different phases of the women's cycle. And then I have all of my paid offerings like Unbecoming and the womb meditation that I talked about.
Thank you so much for sharing all that. And yes, it will all be in the show notes. So you can go ahead and find the Instagram handle for Stara at Woman Healing down in the show notes. I really appreciate the time that you had with us today. Thank you for sharing your story, your journey, helping us understand the importance of the womb. And yeah, I just want to thank you for your time and your presence.
No, thank you. Thank you for again giving me the opportunity to be here and share my story and share all this wisdom. And also thank you for the work that you're doing, just interviewing women. Do you interview men as well? I am not sure.
It's so funny that you say that
Oh.
because there's a man, I haven't interviewed him yet, but there's this man that I met at one of Jamie Lee's retreats, and I love him. He's such a powerhouse, and I just love the divine masculine wisdom that he has and the softness and the strength that he holds at the same time. And I wanted to interview him. I haven't asked him yet, but he is on the list of the people that I want to interview and bring onto this podcast. So you saying that just affirms that I'm just gonna go and text him right now.
That is so crazy. And who is this, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so Jack, I'm shutting you out before I even text you, but I'm hoping, Jack, that you come onto my podcast. Yeah, so when I went to the Nectar of the Heart in Ecuador with Jamie, Jack was actually like a last minute person that got added on, if I believe. Like I think he signed up for the retreat like a week before because he was just so happened to be in Ecuador and he did a Temazcal ceremony like a week before the retreat in Finca Punta Ayampe. And
Hmm.
then he just met Jamie Lee and Nico and Aldo, and he just loved the Temazcal ceremony. So he ended up signing up for the retreat. So then he was a part of our group.
That is so interesting. That is really amazing. And I hope that you can interview him.
Yes, he's gonna come on. I'm so excited to have him on. I'm gonna text
Uh,
literally after I'm done with this, I'm gonna text him.
Yes, I look forward to hearing that episode for sure.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you to everybody that's listening, and until next time. And thank you to those women that came to the Goddess Galentine's event that we had back on February 9th. But for those of you that went and want to know more about the goddess within, or for those of you that are listening to this podcast episode now and are curious to ignite the goddess within you, I am having a goddess series where we're going to be meeting every other month in Longwood, Florida, as a group in person and a group of women to continue activating the different archetypes of the goddess within. So if you're curious, If you want to learn more, feel free to go on my Instagram at Vibes del Alma, VIBESDELALMA, which is on the show notes. So you can either go to the Vibes del Alma podcast Instagram or go to my personal one at Vibes del Alma, which is where I'll have more information on how to sign up for this Goddess Series workshop to activate the goddess within you. See you then.